Hey guys, I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about our calculator. So for those of you that bought this calculator, the TI-30XS Multiview calculator, this is the one we recommend. And if you were here in the building as a student, I would be showing you a lot more on how to work with this. And so since we are working with exponents and scientific notation, I still want to show you that. And I ran out of time in our Zoom meeting this morning, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more practice. So let me start with exponents. So let's say I have 4 to the 3rd power raised to the 2nd power. Well, we talked about the rules. When you have a power raised to a power, you would multiply those exponents and we would get 4 to the 6th power, right? Well, what is 4 to the 6th power? I don't know. It's a big number, so we're going to do 4. So I'm going to type in 4. I'm going to use the caret button right here. And if you notice, the exponent starts blinking. And I'm going to type in 6. And I'm going to hit my enter button. And it is 4,096. All right, so I can just do that straight on my calculator if I wanted to. So I'm going to use my parentheses. I'm going to say 4 and then the caret button to the 3rd power, and then I'm going to right click so I can get out of the exponent section. And did you see that it dropped down? And then I'm going to end my parentheses, and then I'm going to say raise to the 2nd power. 2, you can't see the 2, but anyway, and now I'm hitting the enter button, and then it gives me the right answer. So this morning we had a pretty complicated math problem. It was number 4 on our practice sheet this morning. So on our practice sheet this morning we had 7 times 3 times 2 over 7 times 5 raised to the 2nd power times 7 to the 0 power 5 to the negative 3rd raised to the 3rd power times 5 to the negative 9th. Now I showed you guys how we could solve that paper pencil, but now I just wanted you to see that typed in the calculator. Okay, I know this is so fuzzy, I'm so sorry. But if you had our paper from this morning, this is number 4. I know it's fuzzy, fuzzy, fuzzy. This HoverCam is old. It's the newest one I've got, but it's old. All right, so when it says use parentheses, we have to use parentheses, okay, guys? All right, so let's start with the parentheses. We're going to start with our fraction button, n over d. And then I'm going to type in 7 times 3 times 2. I'm going to arrow down to the denominator where I have 7 times 5. And then I'm going to right arrow click so I can get out of the denominator, and now I'm going to end my parentheses. Okay, are you with me? And now I'm going to raise that whole thing to the 2nd power. So I'm going to say, I could do the caret button and a 2, or this says x squared right here, so I'm just going to hit squared. Okay, so that's the whole first little section, correct? Now I'm going to hit times. And then the second section, I see 7 raised to the 0 power. So first I'm going to start with my parentheses. I'm going to do my fraction button. And then I'm going to do 7 caret 0. And then I'm going to arrow down, and I'm going to do 5 caret, and then negative 3. It's not minus 3, you guys. You can't use the wrong button. You can't use minus. It has to be negative. Negative 3. If you use a minus right there, it's going to tell you the whole thing has a domain error. All right, so now to end my parentheses, I have to right arrow to get out from the denominator. So I'm going to right arrow click, and to see how the cursor jumped up. And now I'm going to end my parentheses. Now I'm going to use my caret button. And all of that is to the 3rd power. Okay, now the cursor is still up there in the exponent section, so I have to right arrow click again, and then I'm going to say times, and now 5. So 5 raised to the, so I need my caret button right there. And then that's a -9. I cannot use my minus symbol. I'm not allowed to. I have to go down here and use my negative symbol. -9. -9, right? So I have that whole math problem written in my calculator the way I see it on my paper. Finally, I hit enter. And it tells me the answer, which we got this morning in class, was 1.44. And guys, that takes a little bit of practice because, you know, you got to get used to using those parentheses. You got to get used to using the x squared or the caret button. You got to get used to using the negative sign when it's a negative sign and minus when it's a subtraction problem, because if you use those wrong, it's going to mess up the whole problem, okay? So that takes a little bit of practice. So let me give you a couple problems that you can try. Let me move my hover cam up. All right, how about you guys practice doing 4 times 3 over, I don't know, doesn't matter. I don't know. Why can't I make a choice? 6 times 2, both of those squared, all of that squared. We'll do minus 5 to the -2 times, let's say 3 to the 3rd over 4 to the 5th. All right, y'all put that in your calculator and let's see what you get. All right, so you can pause this video, but when you do it, you're going to get about right there, 0.00985. No, 0.99895. So practice that a few times and see if you get the right answer. So of course, this is a minus sign, subtraction sign, and this is a negative sign. If you don't use those correctly on your calculator, it'll tell you made an error. All right, some of the other things we've been doing are perfect squares. So if I want to find out what is the square root of 49, then in my calculator, I want the square root symbol, which is above my x squared button. So to get there, I'm going to hit the second button. I'm going to hit the x squared button, which brings up my radical. And I'm going to bring up 49. And hit enter, and I see it's 7. Well, what about the cubed root? Let's say the cubed root of 125. Hit clear. All right, so since it's a cubed root, I'm going to start with the number 3. We'll start with the number 3. And then I'm going to hit second. And I'm going to hit above the caret button, it says X and then a radical. So I'm going to hit that. And did you notice when I hit that, if you can see my screen, that the 3 turned small? If the 3 doesn't turn into a small digit, then you messed up. All right, let's type in 125. So the cubed root of 125 is 5. All right, what about the cubed root of 625? All right, let's try it again. We start with the number 3. Then we're going to do second, and then the caret button, and then my 3 turns small. And now I'm going to put in 625, and I get a decimal. It's an irrational number, 8.549879733, blah, 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 blah. Okay? All right, what else? Anything else you want to do? with radicals. So we got these fractions, we have exponents, we have radicals. All right, so now let's do some scientific notation. So I'm going to change my paper. Actually, let me just flip this thing. There we go. Everything's backwards in the camera. It takes me a second. All right. So let's do a little scientific notation. So I want to show you guys this is important because let's say my math problem is 3.24 times 10 to the 4th plus 7.6 times 10 to the 2nd. Okay, now I told you today earlier that you can add and subtract as long as your exponents match each other. Well, these do not match each other. So I would have a lot of conversions to do first. I would have to do left, add, right, subtract. I'd have to move my decimal. If I wanted it to be a 2, that means I would have to move my decimal to the right because this means left, add, right, subtract. I wanted to subtract 2. I'd have to move it to the right 2 places. So it'd be 324 times 10 to the 2nd plus blah, blah, blah. All right, so I don't want to have to do all that. I just want to let my calculator work for me. So this is very important. You have a mode button right here. It says mode beside the second button. It's hit mode, and then you have all these words come up. Well, that word right here, SCI, that means scientific notation. So I want to get to that scientific notation. So I'm going to arrow down and see my cursor's moving. Now I'm going to arrow right, and SCI is now blinking, right? So I'm going to hit enter. Now nothing really happened except if you have very good vision, which I don't, right there, very, very tiny, there should be 3 little letters that come up that says SCI. That means your calculator is now in scientific notation mode. So I'm going to hit clear, and the words went away, but that SCI did not go away. So now watch this. This is pretty cool. So I'm going to use parentheses when I need to, and so every time I see parentheses, I'm going to use them in my calculator so I don't get anything wrong. So I'm going to type in 3.24, and now this morning I taught you guys that that button means times 10 to the something power, times 10 to the something power. I'm going to hit that. So 3.24 times 10 to the 4th power. I don't want to be in my exponent anymore, so I have to arrow right in my parentheses. Now I'm going to say plus parentheses 7.6 times 10 to the n times 10 to the, and what is my exponent this time? It's a 2. I'm going to right arrow, use my end parentheses, and my answer is, now it gave me my answer in scientific notation. So my answer is 3.316 times 10 to the 4th. And that is already written in scientific notation. Isn't that cool? I can still put that math problem in without my calculator being in scientific notation mode. But when I do that, it's going to tell me my answer is 33,160, which is still okay. That's still a good answer, unless my multiple choice options are scientific notation. I would have to convert that number to scientific notation. Okay, so hit clear. Let's try another one. Now your SCI is still there. That means your calculator is still in scientific notation mode, and it will until you change it back or you clear your calculator by hitting clear and on. So everybody hit clear and on at the same time. Memory cleared, and to get those words off the screen, hit clear again. Now my SCI is gone. That means my calculator is back in normal mode. Okay, so if you ever go like, how do I get my calculator out of scientific notation mode? You can always hit on and clear, or there's a little button right here. Or is that it? No, there's somewhere on your calculator. Oh, it's right here. Reset. You can actually stick a pen down in there and hold it down, and it'll reset the memory on your calculator. Okay. All right, so let's go and put it back in scientific notation mode again. So we're going to hit mode. We're going to arrow down to SCI. We're going to hit enter, Now nothing happens except the SCI and that tiny little letters show up on the screen. And then to get out of this screen, hit clear. Make sure, okay, it's still in scientific notation mode. So let's do another problem. Let's do a math problem. Let's do 4.6 times 10 to the second times 3.2 times 10 to the fourth. Okay, now earlier we used parentheses, which are important, but for adding and subtraction, you don't have to use parentheses, you'll get the same answer. But with multiplying and dividing, if you do not use the parentheses, your calculator will tell you an answer, but it will not be correct. That's why anytime you see parentheses, go ahead and use them in your calculator, just so you don't have to remember which ones require parentheses and which ones don't. Okay, so we're doing this math problem right here. I know it's very, very fuzzy, I apologize. But we're gonna do parentheses 4.6. I'm using my times 10 to the n. My exponent is a 2, even though you probably can't read it. I gotta get out of that exponent by arrowing right in my parentheses. Now I'm hitting multiply. Second set of parentheses, I'm gonna do 3.2 times 10 to the n, which my n this time is 4. I right arrow click in my parentheses, and my calculator tells me in scientific notation, my answer is 1.472 times 10 to the 7th. Awesome. All right, what if I have a division problem? What if I have 5.6 times 10 to the 3rd divided by, I don't know, 1.2 times 10 to the 2nd? All right, well, I'm gonna make it look just like that in my calculator. I'm gonna do a fraction button. I'm gonna do 5.6 times 10 to the n. My n is 3. Over, so I got to arrow down. 1.2 times 10 to the 2nd. Now this time I don't need parentheses because it forces it to do everything on top first and then everything on bottom. However, if it was written horizontally, if it was 5.6 times 10 to the 3rd divided by, I would 100% have to have parentheses. 1.2 times 10 to the 2nd. But the way this is written, it does all the top divided by all the bottom. And then it tells me my answer is 4.6 repeating times 10 to the 1st power. Okay. All right, so anyway, I just wanted to show you guys there is a lot you can do with this calculator. If you don't have one, you should probably get one. I've showed you the fraction button. I've showed you the n times 10 to the n power. I've shown you radicals. I've shown you the exponent button. All right, now look, is your calculator still in scientific notation mode? Mine is. So either I can hit on and clear, or I can hit my reset button in the back, or I can go to mode, and that first button that's already blinking, I'm just gonna hit enter right there. I'm gonna hit enter on that one. Oh, it didn't work. Let's see, maybe it's normal. Oh, it's normal, N-O-R-M. So I wanna key down to normal, hit enter, my SCI went away. And now to get out of this screen, I hit clear. All right, so maybe that helped. You guys just need to practice using those, okay? Just Google some math problems with exponents, or Google, I don't know, scientific notation, computation problems. And I think it'll give you a little bit of practice time, okay? All right, you guys, y'all have a great day and good luck on your test tomorrow. See ya.